is the GMologist, GM extraordinaire, the GMologist.
Everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents today. Another special treat. I get to sit down and talk with my buddy, my friend, Paul Wolfe of Mystic Bull Games. We talk about OSR and Hexcrawls and all that kind of fun stuff. Specifically, we touch on his Witch Lords of Skull Mountain. He has Volume 1 out for multiple systems, and we get into that discussion as well. So please sit back, enjoy. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. I have a special guest with me today, and his name is Paul Wolfe. Paul Wolfe is from Mystic Bull Press, and recently I picked up a copy of Witch Lords of Skull Mountain, the first in a series that he's going to talk about today with us in his emergent play sandbox kind of Hexcrawl campaign. How are you doing this morning, Paul?
Doing good, man. It was great to see you again at Texas. We haven't seen each other in a while. So.
Yeah. I know you live like right up the road from me,
yeah.
But and I blow through that place about once a quarter. But we gotta stop and have a beer or something like we've done in the past.
Definitely.
But it was great to see you and your whole clan actually at the North Texas RPG Con. So yeah, let's talk about the con first. I mean, what were your impressions? What do you think? Why did you and your whole family like always go?
This year was a little bit light. So I have two sons outside the state. One lives in Kansas, one lives in Colorado, and they weren't able to make it this year. But my two nephews were there. My youngest son was there, and then on Saturday, my sister lives in Fort Worth, so on Saturday she'll come over and hang out because usually cool. Her kids are there. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, we have a good time, and then that's kind of our group con for my online group. So Eric Hoffman, Jose Lucario, usually Jason Hobbs, but he wasn't there this year. Thaddeus, all of those guys usually show up there. So it's kind of our home con for the group.
Yeah, and you guys have been running an ongoing Hexcrawl emergent campaign run by multiple GMs, however you want to call it, for a while, right? So if you want to talk about Forlorn Shores, because I think that's going to lead into your development of.
That's that's BX. So that's in BX, like Mulvey and Cook, old school BX, and it's the main thing. I guess Eric started that, and then he kind of opened it up to other people to run in that same world. So we all have our little sections, and it's my first experiment in what is it called? West Marches, where we ran it online for years and years, where people, players would sign up, and we would run sessions whenever they sign up. So whichever area they sign up for, whatever sort of expedition they plan to do. There's a central island where you're always safe, and then there are 6, I think, areas along the coast where they go in and explore. So it's great. I mean, we had some real fans of that thing for a long time. We didn't run it a lot this year, but last year it was pretty much the whole con we ran it. So
wow,
and that was amazing. Really the first time live that we ran it like that. So
well, that's cool. Yeah, and I think that's really neat. I think it kind of leads into your new project, but maybe you could talk about how you got into or started Mystic Bull, what they've done before, how you got into gaming. I don't know if a lot of people might not know that, except for your close friends and family. But
it's age 12, and the Mulvey box set was where we started. So it was pretty common among our our age, so
I think
probably.
so. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Had to
what's
use
crazy
the.
is we still play it. Like we still play that game, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I think that's really neat. Yeah, I used the I remember using like the we didn't I mean you had the monsters in the Molde little book, but then you're like, oh, I want different monsters. So you we had
mhm,
so that at that time the monster manual was out, but the I think the DMG and the player's handbook hadn't come out. For me at least. And then we would use the monsters from didn't know how to do it and probably played more like OD&D really because like the hit dice thing and the hit points
right.
thing I know it didn't quite jive for me until like oh you're supposed to roll dice and see how many they have
Hmm.
but OD&D is just hit dice right so it's kind of funny yeah
I think we played when we first started playing it. We thought the hit dice meant that's how many times you hit it to kill it, and
oh
so
yeah
and
okay
because it wasn't really very clear in Molde, and that's one of the few things that wasn't clear, or
hmm
we just missed it, or whatever.
yeah
But I remember like several sessions we played where if you hit an orc once, it was dead, right?
yeah
Um, and then
it's pretty
but then
cool
yeah, we figured it out. But then I mean, when we transitioned to AD&D, we were
hmm
playing BX with AD&D overlaid on it, you know,
hmm
because AD&D was such a mess as far as the rules went. So it was just much easier. Basically, in today, that same game is probably Labyrinth Lord Advanced. It's got a
hmm
BX engine and it's got the AD&D stuff layered on top of it. And
yeah similar
yeah,
to OSC right OSC kind of you have
yeah,
the basic fantasy and then the advanced fantasy.
yeah.
So that, yeah, but yeah, Labyrinth Lord, pretty cool game system. All right, so let's talk about Witch Lords of Skull Mountain. So the first one is out, and you did this as a zine, like a Kickstarter
Yeah,
zine.
I did
What?
it part of the Zine Quest. Yeah,
Okay, earlier this year, right? Was
yep.
it?
I kickstarted it in February.
Yeah, and they already have print copies, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was determined to do it to print it locally. So I started doing this in 2012. So mostly with DCC stuff,
Mm,
and everything I've done is Pod. So I really wanted to do. I wanted to find a local printer because you can always do a lot more with a local printer. And if you have a local printer, you don't have to pay, you know, shipping for your books to
mhm.
get to you and then get to your customer, right? So you can be more direct about things. And then the main reason for that one was I wanted to do a detached cover with a map on the inside of the cover, like an old school module. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Craig
yeah, it's a
Brasco
book. Yeah,
freaking killed that
killed
thing.
it. Yeah, it's an amazing map. I love it. I
Um,
love his
and
style.
then on the outside, I wanted to do
Mhm.
you know, I wanted to do content instead of back cover blurb because there
Yeah,
are two things I hate about writing RPG stuff. The first is a rumor table. I don't know why. I just freaking hate it. And the second is back cover blurb. I just can't stand to write back cover blurb. So
yeah, it
I
kind of
want to
gives
write
it gives
content.
away like what's it's like almost a spoiler on the back cover blurb, you know?
Right,
Yeah,
but it's also serves the same purpose, right? It's like, oh, that seems intriguing, you know. So I want to check this out. So hopefully that's what hopefully that it serves that purpose. But
oh, you mean the treasure table on the back?
yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
hopefully it interests people this sort of the same way a black back cover blurb would.
Hmm.
But yeah, so the Skull Mountain originally was a I developed it for fifth edition because I was trying to just learn the system, and of course Skull Mountain is from the first basic set.
Hmm.
Um, the that you know very intriguing um, side view map of Skull Mountain,
Hmm.
and so I wanted to do something in fifth edition for virtual GaryCon in 2020,
Hmm.
and I did that. I developed out a sort of a dungeon um, tournament for that, and then I was really liked it. And I wanted to do other stuff with it. I didn't really like it in fifth edition, but I liked the idea. And so what I wanted to do was a high level dungeon
Hmm.
because I don't high level dungeons I think are hard to find that are any good. And I wanted to see if I could do one, but also I love the wilderness exploration hexcrawl piece of it. So I wanted to take it. Characters can go from first level all the way up to the level required to get to Skull Mountain as they explore through these various wilderness areas. And so it's like three
Hmm.
books planned for the wilderness area, three books planned for the mega dungeon,
Oh wow.
mini mega dungeon, high level adventure. So
Hmm. That's really cool.
which is actually Skull Mountain. So yeah, that's what I threw that on Kickstarter in February. It was pretty successful. Three different systems. So OSE,
Hmm.
so Old School Essentials, DCC, which of course my first love, and the and Shadow Dark. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I was trying to learn Shadow Dark in general, so I ran it in Shadow Dark, and it's easy, really easy to develop for that system. So I
Oh,
just
that's good.
converted it to Shadow Dark as I went. But yeah, I mean, BX slash Old School Essentials is kind of my default because it's super easy to develop for.
Hmm.
And then DCC is, marginally more difficult than OSE. Shadow Dark is about equal to OSE. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think the next one I want to add, I'm going to add Osric 3 because of the new Kickstarter.
Oh, wow.
Because of
Okay.
course AD&D is my second love, so
Hmm.
I want to do that, support that system too. So, but yeah, I mean, it, this the process was really to sort of get myself back to understanding how to do it, how to put all that stuff together, how to lay it out, how to work with local printers and stuff like that. I haven't put anything out since 2018, so it was just kind of
Oh, dang.
relearning the
Yeah.
process, doing something I wanted to do, and so yeah,
So it's like the resurgence of Mystic Bull, I guess. You
yeah.
haven't put it.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
that would be
hopefully.
good.
All right. So how where is you are? So I guess like you just said, you start with OSE and then you just add the different components of like DCC and then Shadow Dark. Is that how your
Yeah,
process?
DCC is almost. Um, it's not really a rewrite, but there's a lot of things that you have to consider with DCC because you want to add to the game with patrons and things like that, especially
Hmm.
patrons, but
Yeah.
spells, things like that. It's really, you know, DCC's philosophy is different from OSE in that you want all monsters are supposed to be different,
Hmm.
all treasure is supposed to be different, all spells are supposed to be, more or less unique depending on
Yeah.
what you roll or whatever,
Right.
so yeah, you want to be cognizant of that definitely. But I mean, DCC reinformed my style of gaming when it came out with those philosophies. So I just apply those to anything that you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't want to have 1d6 normal orcs standing out there for you to fight. I want them to be either integrated into the world in some way or unique in some other mechanical way.
Hmm.
So yeah, um, that's really the big difference with DCC, and it's more work. So
Is it are they do they end up being like thicker or bigger or how does that?
it couldn't be. That's the problem. So
Oh wow. Yeah.
when I first started it, um, I was going to print at Mixum because I thought they could do that detached cover. So Mixum is a pod um, printer that a lot of those zine guys use.
Hmm.
Um, and the absolute maximum you could have are 64 pages, including the cover.
Hmm.
Um, and so I set that was my target, and then it ended up I couldn't use Mixum because they actually couldn't do a detached cover. And
Okay.
so I just stuck with the page count. So all three of them are exactly the same length. I have the
Mm.
patron for the DCC version, which is just an add-on PDF. I couldn't include it in the book because patrons are so dang long. So
Yeah.
and would just
And
eat
then what
up
about
way too much
Shadow?
page count.
And then Shadow Dark the same thing, or was it easier to, I guess, quote unquote,
Shadow Dark is
keep it clean?
really similar to OSE. It's
Hmm.
even a little bit easier. Um, the thing that I adopted from that system is I really like the way that Kelsey did the encounter tables.
Hmm.
so they're not generic. They're kind of specific, um, and it's a D100 roll that's basically 50. I think it's 50 entries total,
Oh wow.
maybe 51. But each encounter is sort of evocative, um, includes something sort of that's going on, right? It's not just a you encounter this thing.
Hmm.
Includes other stuff like treasure and like hazards and stuff like that. So I really liked the way that she did that, and so I went back and that's how I did mine.
Okay.
And that's how I do them now for any system I run. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, you have like modular tables or tables that go, okay, if you roll this number, go to the next table type thing. That's always
Right.
kind of fun as a GM to me, honestly. So like you have like a,
Those are fun, but man, they are so cumbersome at the table. I mean,
you think so?
I've, I've developed nested tables like that before, and
Hmm.
one of them I really like is if you've ever played that little board game Barbarian Prince. It's like a solo. It's a solo Hexcrawl. It came in a tiny box. Came out in '83 or something. Came with a metal figure. It
Hmm.
came with a hex map and a book that detailed any encounter that you would have, and an encounter table. And it was a
Hmm.
D6 table. So you roll a D6 for the column, D6 for the row.
Yeah.
And each one of those encounters had nested encounters. So it would be elf, and there are, different types of elves that you would encounter. Maybe a group, maybe this, that, or the other thing. So that was really cool. That's really cool solo because you don't have to worry about time. But um, I wanted to do something similar to that, but it just like those nested tables just killed me at the table.
Huh. That's interesting. So
And maybe it
I feel it
was
would be
maybe it was
pretty.
perception online. Like dead air online sometimes is
Hmm.
different than dead air at the table. But it was yeah, I don't know. I really like coming up with the evocative encounter. It's basically a sentence.
Yeah.
Um, and then you can just riff off of that immediately, right, when you get it. So
Yeah. It's kind of like a prompt, right? Um,
yeah,
yeah. I like
and
that.
that I mean that approach is what I'm going for in the book all through it is like DMs need to be able to improvise. You're not reading anything to the player. You're not reading stuff to the player. You're improvising. You're giving them the information that they need in a way that's evocative
Yeah.
and also gives them something to Jenga whenever you're done talking, right?
Yeah.
And if you read them 5 paragraphs of stuff, they're already asleep. They're not Jengaing nothing.
Yeah. They're looking at their phone or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's very true. Yeah. I think that's something I really kind of drew me to it, right? It's not like a paragraph of box text. It's like, here we go. Um, Mirror hall, mirror 3 by 5, east wall, worn tapestry, west wall, tarnished censers hang from chains, center. That's it. No
That's
like
what you
box
need.
text to
Yeah.
describe this hall. It let people's minds go with it. And
That's the third thing I hate writing for RPGs is box text. And I've done that too. I mean, DCC, that's kind of their standard
yeah.
is a box text. And
Hmm.
I just can't stand it.
No, I
Because
think yeah, go ahead.
I just can't stand it from the DM's perspective.
Uh
Writing it's of course fun, um,
reading
but
it.
yeah, from the DM's perspective, I just can't stand to sit there and read a paragraph to the player.
Yeah. Um what was interesting is oh right, so there's this like debate on some of the podcasts in our circle about stuff like that, right? Not just the box text, but then like a description of what are the monsters going to do, right?
Oh my god, yeah, all of that stuff.
So I think this like allows the GM to like, okay, let's kind of improvisationally set this up. I don't know if that's a word, improvisation.
Yeah,
Anyway, Stephen King would be mad because of the adverbs, but anyway, you set up the encounter, in a improv type of way, right? And you just have the single line or the short um, stat block for orcs or whatever, and
right.
how are they? You don't get to go like blow by blow, round by round, how they're going to fight you. right?
Sure.
You can give maybe a little motivational. These orcs are here looking for treasure, whatever,
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and if there's if there's something they want that you call out in that text, well, that's great. That's great improvisationally because a player might say, hey, let's try and negotiate with these dudes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and you can, of course, the DM can improvise what they want, but if you have it there, or if it's
Mm-hmm.
related to the overall world or whatever, well, that's another prompt, right?
Right.
That gives the players something else to chew on. So
Yeah, you can go to like a reaction roll, or if they ask the right questions, well, yeah,
sure, yeah, you
yeah,
offer them the thing that they want, they're gonna,
yeah,
it's gonna be a bonus or whatever.
yeah. That's
And
really
then
cool.
I think that I learned that um, most I mostly learned that from freaking Gillespie's Bear Maze. So I
Mm-hmm.
ran a long West Marches mega dungeon during COVID called Shimmering Tower. In each
Mm-hmm.
one
I
of the
remember that.
rooms,
I played in that.
I, did you? Oh, okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
If the room was empty, I always put something in it. Right, it doesn't matter what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and I would use his tables from Baramaze, which is a dungeon dressing tables, but I would end up pulling in other ones or make my own or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was always something in the room, even if and and I think I had just a couple of rooms in there that were actually empty, because that was even more interesting because you would come through these rooms where there's
There's
always
stuff
something,
in, and then why is it
and now
empty?
this
You're like,
room's
is it
empty. Why
really
is this room
empty?
empty?
Is it
Yeah,
really
exactly.
empty? Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
good.
even if it's a blood stain of being dragged across the floor or
Mm-hmm.
an empty boot or whatever it is, the greatest thing about that was that the players made up the story. Like they would say, "Oh shit, why is there a boot here? I remember we saw another boot in another room." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they would always sort of, if you give them something to chew on and not
Mm-hmm.
tell them what it is, especially if it doesn't matter, they're the ones that make the story. And then
Yeah.
the greatest thing about that was that would also filter into them telling other players, because it was a West Marches style game. So everybody would just, whoever wanted to play would collect a party and go in
Mm-hmm.
the dungeon
Right.
and then come out, and they would tell other players, oh yeah, so we found this one obelisk in this room. It's made out of this certain green stone. We found this other thing that's also made out of this green stone. In my notes, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a random thing, right? And so they make this whole story, and what I'm trying to say is they make the rumor table, so you never have to write a rumor table because they make it as they
Yeah.
play. So it's
Yeah.
really fun, and it really, I mean, that definitely fed into my creative process of just, as the DM, I own the world,
Mm-hmm.
the characters own the story, right? And the world just reacts to them doing whatever they do. And if you try and force a story on the game, I don't think it serves the players very well. So
Right. Well, I guess that goes to like this question of like the myth of the adversarial GM. Then I think, when the more I play, especially at these cons and with you guys and the West Marches style or the sort of Hexcrawl style, I really think that's the general that's become. I don't think, honestly, I don't think it ever was. I can't. I mean, I can think of, maybe I can think of in the past where a GM is like, well, I want my bad guy to win, even though we have him like dead to rights, or the bad guy
right,
miraculously gets away. But and some, maybe in the past, some GMs have like, well, it's the story. You're just feeding my story. You're like Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. I like to use that analogy because no matter he wouldn't have to do anything, and the end result is still the same.
right,
Right.
exactly.
But I don't think you want that in gameplay. And I think now the philosophy has changed to where, you give little prompts, you let the players sort of develop the story that emerges, right? We like to use that term, emergent play. And I think
Yeah,
that's why these older school games, whether you use a original BX AD&D, or you jump to, OSE, etc., I think they're conducive to that. And I think that's the most fun to me, is like exactly how players, like, you throw a little clue in, and then what the players think of it. I'm like, I don't know what the players. I didn't have anything intention in mind when I threw this thing there,
Mhm.
but now the players like, oh, and this must mean blah 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 blah, or they make the whole like that's what's great. And you if you have players who like understand that process, then you have such a fantastic game experience as a DM GM. You know,
Yeah.
I know like in like I just had this point crawl using Cepheus engine that was kind of at North Texas that was inspired um, by some of the Warhammer 40K stories about space
Mhm.
wolves. So Graham McNeil's space wolf stuff, where they're on this death world, and then they basically got to climb this mountain, and they get to where the gods take them away, right? So, but I didn't have anything about the politics of the different tribes that were trying to do this, but the players made that up as they went up.
Sure.
They made that up as they had encounters. Like, oh, this must mean this and that means that. And they're like, I don't. I didn't say anything. I was like, that's awesome. I love that because you're right.
Mhm.
They'll just take you give players like something, and they want to create part. They want to be part of the creative process and create the story as well. And I think that's
Sure.
why these games are conducive to that. I think that's really neat. It's like I think it's a maybe that's why I like playing in your games. So I don't get to play enough. So, but yeah, I
I
remember.
think it definitely hews closer to storytelling because the player is in charge of their character.
Mhm.
You know, in a story, if you have a character, the most important thing to that character is what they want, and then the things that are in the way of them getting what they want, right?
Mhm.
And so, if I'm telling you the story of what your character does most of the time, and just putting them in situations, that doesn't tell the story, right? It's the player driving that character towards its motivations that tells the story.
Mhm.
If I get like super deep into it, but ultimately,
That's
ultimately, I think
exactly
it's
right.
just fun. I mean, it's fun for the DM
Mhm.
whenever nothing is, you have a framework, you have the ability to improvise, and you have players that are into the game. Um,
Mhm.
it's fun for the DM then because you're playing the game too at that point. And I was going to say that I know you play Twilight 2000 too.
Mhm.
The new Twilight 2000 is 100% built on that framework, and I love that game now.
Yeah, it kind of emerges, right? Like you go through the hex and see what
Absolutely.
happens. I mean, it can definitely like I think at ours has become as I think you had an experience in playing it. It's become very advanced where they have allies and there's so many moving
Yeah,
pieces, so it becomes almost like a strategic, tactical type of game. But you still
absolutely.
can jump. You can still go back to that survival mode and you crawl through the hex and see what happens, right? Who you run into, what you see, and I think both. I mean, Free League is really good at this, but even the older stuff it wasn't really uh it's like this is here, this
Yeah,
is what these bad guys are doing or these people
right.
are doing in this area. What do you do, right? It's never
Yeah,
like there's never like a linear. I can't think of, maybe there might be in the later modules, but early on like in Krakow or on the along the Vistula or even in the ruins of Warsaw, it's really, you know, this is what's going on. Players can
hmm
engage with it or they can't. How do you engage with
right.
it? Or you just, GTFO out of this area and we go to another
Exactly.
set of the hex crawls, right? So I think that's
Yeah,
really
I mean,
neat.
one of the greatest gaming experiences I think I ever had was with the new Twilight 2000.
Mhm.
And my sons were playing, I think a couple other people, and they come into this village that I just sort of generated on the fly using the Twilight 2000 system. They meet some dude who's this lovelorn dude who has a girlfriend who's in another village, who's
Mm.
in the other village has been taken over by the Russians or marauders or something, whatever. Well, they decide, dude, we are going to reunite you guys. And so it's the middle of the night. They get a bottle of vodka, they steal a car, and they're driving across, war-torn Poland, drinking
Mhm.
vodka and trying to get this guy to his girlfriend. And that was one of the greatest games that we ever
That's
played.
awesome.
It
Yep.
was so good because it was wild. You could see it in a movie. You know what I mean? It was like
Hmm.
it was really fun. And I didn't plan it. The dice rolls didn't really plan it. It was just a collection of all those things together, and everybody sort of playing together. So it was good.
Yeah, that's really neat. That's really great. Yeah, so another thing I want to highlight in this is you have dungeons in here, but they're small dungeons. So tell me about like your dungeon design process? Is this gonna, I mean, I guess you say you're planning a mega dungeon, but I think at most I've seen like a 7-room dungeon in here. Is that sort of a plan,
Yeah, so these
what's
things,
the
so that
idea?
the
Right. So
idea that idea comes from
it's a
how we
small
ran
dungeon.
Forlorn Shores.
Yeah.
How we ran Forlorn Shores is like it was a hex crawl,
Hmm.
and you might have a couple of planned sort of big sites out there, but for
Hmm.
the most part, it was completely emergent for me. So I would have a list of dungeons that I could run on the fly.
Hmm.
Um, and if you encountered a site in a hex, I would just randomly roll and pull that dungeon in. So this is sort of the same idea. I have four fixed sites, maybe five. I can't remember now in that
Hmm.
book. Um, and they're actually on the map.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them are emergent. So when you
Right.
come to a
There's.
hex, there might be a site there. If a site comes up on your encounter table, then you put that dungeon in. And
Mhm.
so the idea is short dungeons, single session, um, related but not necessarily, a story and something fun to do. So it's something to discover. So the idea is to encourage exploration, discovery.
Exploration. Yeah.
Yeah, and uh, and then also, like I said, when the GM plays the game too, when it's emergent like that, the GM plays the game too, and it's fun. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Gets to roll dice.
and then those
Not just.
smaller ones are definitely easier to sort of process and run at the table without spending a lot of time
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
reading.
Getting bogged in the dungeon. It seems to be a very much a like a deal breaker almost in some campaigns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that ask that prompts me to ask the question: then how are you going to treat your Skull Mountain differently, right? To try to avoid that, or how's that going to
So
work?
it's not necessarily a mega dungeon, but it's connected in different ways to other things to do. So if you remember the Greyhawk, they were kind of trying to get um, the Greyhawk dungeon together in TSR when everything fell apart.
Greyhawk Castle, yeah.
Yeah, and
Some
one of those
Castle Greyhawk.
adventures was like the Isle of the Ape, right?
Hmm.
So you're going through the dungeon and suddenly you're on the Isle of the Ape, right? So it's not going to be necessarily like that, but I'm saying there are other connections and other things kind of to Jenga in there other
Hmm.
than just crawling through the dungeon. Because it's going to be high level,
Yeah.
which means most high level characters can deal with pretty much everything in the dungeon. So
Hmm.
I wanted to make it a little bit more. I don't know. It's like connected, sort of in the same style of a hex crawl, but a dungeon with a bunch of different connected things. Some things fixed,
Oh
some
no.
things emergent. Um, and so that's the plan. I don't have that actually written yet. I have the fifth edition one that I started just for that tournament, which was only three different areas. I think it was three, maybe four. Um, but this will be three issues, so three 64-page books of things to Jenga inside the dungeon.
With the Hexcrawl.
A dungeon with the same idea as a hex crawl. So there's some fixed things that are part of the dungeon, and some emergent things that are part of the dungeon
Hmm.
um, that will hopefully support high level play. So that's the plan.
So what kind of levels are we talking? Because it looks like everything in volume one is for levels 1 to 2. Maybe there's a few little.
I don't know which one you have, but yeah, for
Yeah, the
OSE, I
first
think
one.
it's one.
One to two
It's
for OSE. Yeah, for
Yeah,
OSE. That's what I'm
yeah, and
seeing.
so the next three, or sorry, the next two books are the rest of the wilderness.
Hmm.
One of those is going to be probably up to six-ish level.
Hmm.
Um, the other one's going to be up to probably ninth-ish level. And then once you're in the dungeon, it's like the idea is 10th and higher. So that basically the highest level of those three systems.
Right. Hmm.
So I think BX only goes up to 10 too, right? I can't remember, but I
Hmm.
know DCC and Shadow Dark do. So really, it's basically the highest level. It's going
Yeah.
to be the dungeon crawl part of it. So
Yeah. See, this
uh,
doesn't look like levels 1 to 2.
He's
But
never. I don't think he ever really fight that thing. I think that's Craig's
that's
interpretation.
Craig's. Yeah, it's Craig. It's a yeah. He does. I love the pen and ink, and then he does the painting too, which is great.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
great.
Craig is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to say also, I did. So James Shields, J.E. Shields, he
Hmm.
released a big pack of art for commercial use.
Hmm.
And then also Dyson continually releases his
Yeah.
maps for commercial use. And so
Yeah.
I
People are
get,
doing that. Yeah. Del Tigler's doing that too now.
yeah.
So
And I
you can
mean,
get.
the originally, I mean, part of it, this is like a convergence of a bunch of different ideas, but one of those ideas was why not take these commercial use, art
Hmm.
pieces and just show people how to put them together as a dungeon or as an adventure or as a
Hmm.
campaign for themselves,
Yep.
because you don't have to try your own because there's a bazillion out there, and
Hmm.
you can supplement with art and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, really, James, I've used James as an artist, commission artist for years and years, and
Hmm.
I've never commissioned anything from Dyson, but because he's always so dang busy. But yeah, I was excited to be able to use his stuff, and so it's cool too because you can take, I just take a random one of those maps, and I'm like, okay, what can I do with this?
Hmm.
Um, and I really actually like to do a series on just that piece of it for people that are new to the game because I know Shadow Dark is bringing a lot of new people to the game.
Hmm.
Just to show people like here's how I do it. I don't know, maybe you can do it that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if they just use the map, I guess. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. All
And the other
right.
thing is, I always value, like with Stonehell and with Barrel Maze and some other things, the ability to take a thing in a book
Hmm.
that you bought and use it however you want to use it. You know what I mean? So it's very modular. You
Yep.
can take any of those dungeons and use them however you wanted to use them. It's not part of the story or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, what is cool is there is like a little prompts and little random encounters to make like an emerging story, and you don't. What I've always liked about the old modules, so to speak, is like it's just a here it is. Find out what's going on here.
Mhm,
It's not really throw it in your face what's going on here. There's mysteries to find. I think that's kind of part and parcel with this exploration emergent
definitely.
thing. Or maybe the player characters will put clues together and make up their own story because that's always fun to hear as well. Like what
Making
happened
the
here?
play
Ooh,
making the
yeah.
players do the work is always a good thing.
Yeah. And then as a GM, you can just take notes. Okay, maybe, but you never know.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Well, Paul, so let's turn to less to business matters. And what are you running now? I mean, you're a avid GM. You have a well built-in players, with your large family, which is
Mhm.
fantastic. Um, and so what are you running now? What do you like? What's your favorite kind
So
of
at
game?
North Texas, I redid the Shimmering Tower, so I want to run that again, a little
Hmm.
different than I ran it before. Um, and so I did that at North Texas. Another. Are you going to T Fest?
I'd like to go.
There's
Is that in
another one coming
August,
up here
right?
in Austin. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm running it there too. I'm
Hmm.
thinking about possibly going to Long Con, either Long Con or Flag Con. Flag Con is in Ithaca. My friend Charlie is like really wants me to come up to Flag Con.
Is that in
Uh,
Ithaca, New York?
yeah,
Well, okay.
um, and so I might run it in one of those two places. I think they're the same weekend.
Hmm.
Haven't decided yet, but so that's kind of what I'm running for cons. But at home, like after I get done with something like that, I usually go back to just basic vanilla,
Hmm.
and I was just running some stuff for home, OSE, sort of basic vanilla, right out of the book kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
then now I'm prepping a long-term ostrich campaign.
Neat. So where are we in the next Skull Mountain?
My plan is to start the Kickstarter for the next two issues,
Okay.
mid July,
All right.
for delivery before maybe October, and then November the final Kickstarter for all three issues for the actual Skull Mountain. Excuse me.
Mhm, no problem.
Um,
So is
That's the plan
everything
right
like
now.
written, or you're just in playtest now, or how is that?
I'm partially written, partial playtest, and then the next two issues are pretty much done. Um,
Yeah. Well.
just what has to happen now is that all has to get into a book form, right? So
Mm,
I got Jose Lecario. He's my editor, so he's really good. Um, so I've just got to start putting it all together and getting it over to him. So
great.
get it ready to lay out. And then I'm transitioning from Microsoft Publisher layout, which I've used for forever and ever because it's so easy, but it's
Mm,
going away,
mm,
to Affinity Publisher. So now I'm trying to learn that. So
yeah. Yeah, I like Affinity. I need to play with it more to get, but there's templates and stuff available here and there,
yeah,
so it's really great.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm digging into it right now because I have to put out this patron, and so I'm laying it out in Affinity. So
Okay. Neat. All right. So you do have a patron. I'll have to put that on as a link. You have a patron that
I
people
don't have it
can.
yet. No,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
what I got to lay it out. I was supposed to have it done this past weekend, and I didn't get it.
All right. Well, that
So,
are coming
yes,
up soon.
but that book is available on my website, Mystic Bull Gaming, or mysticbull.com is the name
Yeah,
of
for
the
sure.
website.
Yeah, I'll put that up there. Yeah, and he has it, like you said, in all in three different rule systems: OSE,
Yeah,
DCC, and Shadow Dark.
and you can
So
buy it directly from the site, and then or the PDF directly from the site if you only want the
right.
PDF, and then the
Hmm.
physical book comes with the PDF. So,
Oh, great. That's awesome.
um, and then my other DCC stuff is on there too.
Yeah. Oh, I did have a question.
Hmm.
You also had, so I guess you're developing other stuff like just online only, the town system PDF. Is it?
Yep, all of that stuff is due in. Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's not out
Yeah,
there yet.
the town system is sort of an idea that I came out of Shimmering Tower with, which is
Hmm.
the town starts as basically an inn,
Hmm.
and then as the players do stuff in the town, bring more treasure or whatever, the town grows
Oh,
in either
wow.
expected or unexpected ways, and so kind of supports the ongoing game. So
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
yeah,
so that's Redstow Village in this one.
yeah,
Yeah, and it can. So you have it. So you have it. You're developing that town system PDF because I was like looking for it honestly.
I have it done, and that also something I have to lay out. So it's,
Well,
it's like
that's
I get
great.
to get things
Yeah.
done, and then I'm stopped by the fact that I'm trying to learn Affinity. So
Oh, well, there you go.
yeah,
Well, that's really cool. That is actually really I that's kind of a really cool idea. I don't think I've seen that anywhere else, but like in a way that the adventurers kind of push push the local economy, right? I think that's right. They come with a lot of treasure. What do you do with that
they,
treasure?
they
I
always
mean,
talked
obviously,
about it. You
yeah,
know, they always talked about it. You know, how it should affect the local town, but they never really give you any kind of guidance. So,
yeah, yeah.
and the interesting thing I mean, when I was running the Shimmering Tower, is it was kind of a closed system. It wasn't like they were out wandering in the wilderness. There was
Hmm.
town. You know, Shimmering Tower was a mile away, and it was just sort of back and forth.
Hmm.
And so they spent a lot of time in town, especially carousing.
Hmm.
The idea of supporting all that sort of carousing and other stuff to go in town was interesting. And I started with just a tavern,
Hmm.
and then and they when the characters showed up, they had whatever equipment they had, but there wasn't really anything available after that.
Right.
So it was
Yeah.
either find it in the dungeon or help grow this town so that it attracts an armor or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
That's
was
I think it's a great idea. I mean, because it is, you can just, I guess you can make it up, but it's nice to have like some sort of guidelines. I mean, I can already see how I could use this for other games. I mean, I'm thinking like, like common games that have like a mega dungeon nearby, like Arden Vol or
yeah,
the Dark Tower. In my own Hyperborea campaign, it started as a fort, but now there's this like village, fishing village or whatever in the lagoon nearby. And how does that develop
yeah.
logically? And what? So how does it? How can it support the players? I mean, how? Because they're gonna go to all these ruins and get a bunch of treasure. Do they have to wait for the merchants to come and buy it? Because they don't. A little fishing village can't support 1,000 gold piece gems.
That's the idea. Yeah, it's that kind of came from D&D 3. I think was the market cap in D&D 3.
Yeah, D&D 3 slash Path. I remember Pathfinder. Like I was looking for something recently in Pathfinder. The SRD has how to do that, put that market cap idea up. So if
Yeah,
it
the
wasn't in
market cap.
three, it was
I've used
definitely
that
in
for a long
Pathfinder.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that you know, I, sometimes I don't know. It can be both ways. Like some people get really irritated about it, but I like the idea of what are you going to do with all this treasure?
Yeah, well, the logic of it too, come on, you
Right.
can't. Well, so I'm playing AD&D right now, and I started with Dark Shelf Quarry, Skip Williams' 1999 edition to the slave against the slave lords, and they started this
Mm,
little village or town next to a quarry called Dark Shelf. You can't do anything, and then they get all this treasure. You can't dump it there in Dark Shelf. No one's gonna.
right.
They'll treat you
Gotta go.
some. They'll
Gotta
treat
go
you
to the
some
city.
pigs. Yeah, they treat you some pigs for it, but
Right.
they're not going to give you cash money. They just don't. They can't support it. So you gotta look around in the verse and say, okay, what's a large town that could support that? And it'd be great to be able to then now I'll have a system very soon in layout, like I said,
Mhm.
to kind of build up that town. So this is
Yeah.
like something you could import to any game. Really sounds great.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to say I started it. I started thinking about it and sort of just kind of freewheeling it in Twilight 2000.
Hmm.
Because you always run into like oh, this little town, what's here.
Yeah.
So I made a little system for just generating what's here, and then I was like, well, what if they end up basing here? Like, how would
Hmm.
it how would it change or whatever?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, any system really you could use it,
That's great.
especially any kind of base of operations type thing.
Hmm.
Um, and then I forgot what I was going to say. The Mount and Blade, the video game, really drove home how that works, like how it should work like that. Like you go to a village and they can't buy anything from you, you know.
Hmm.
You can trade for some food, you can hire some people out of the village. I don't know if you ever played that video game,
No,
but
but
it's this great sort of free roam. If there were hexes, it would be a hex crawl, but there are no hexes. Um, this free roam game where you start as a dude and you're kind of building this following, and then eventually sort of taking over, kingdoms and stuff like that. But you start as just a guy riding around the countryside, recruiting and exploring and doing all the things that you do in D&D. It's not
yeah.
fantasy, but it's more medieval.
Hmm.
But yeah, the village there's villages and towns, villages and cities, and the villages, there isn't much you can do there.
Hmm.
You can take on some jobs for them, stuff like that. But you certainly can't dump a bunch of treasure there.
Yeah.
You can't really buy a lot of stuff. So I
Hmm.
thought that was an interesting thing. So I wanted to play with it.
Nice. All right. You have any questions for me, Paul?
What are you playing? Or what's your deal?
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot. That's maybe part of the problem. I mean, I definitely have set up. I will say that I have set up. If my players are willing, OSE Zerovian Highlands on the Roll20. So hopefully that will come down the pipe. But I like
Nice.
regularly. Like I feel like someone made the comment that they think I play something every day, which I probably do. And then they ask, well, how do you work? Well, we do it at night. I mean, for the most part. Today's an exception, but my job's pretty flexible. So
Nice.
so yeah, so I think the ones I'm excited about, the One Ring. I don't know if you've done the Free League One Ring.
I
Um,
tried it. Still can't grok it. If you're running
really?
it online, I would love to play
Yeah, yeah, it's we
at
we
least
are
one
running it.
session.
Yeah, we are running it. So that's a really good game. You can check it out. You can check out our YouTubes and stuff. It's
I
done.
buy every one of those books
Yeah.
and I've read it. I've tried to run it, and
I
I
liked
just
your 5e. Your 5e version was different than the 5e versions. I mean, I played in a couple of your 5e sessions when it was with Cubicle 7,
yeah.
not the new one. And I've run the new one, and I feel like they dug into in that first edition 5e. That's really funny. The first edition 5e one, they really dug into like the accumulation of fatigue, and it was hard to travel. And in this
Right.
other one, they kind of washed that in the 5e version, and it's
Did
just like
they?
it's just a con check at the end.
Right.
It's not as punishing, and I think that's, to me, that's part of that end of the third age aesthetic, is that, the weight of the world, shadow, is pervasive, and I think the One Ring. So that's kind of, I like that game a lot. I'm running an AD&D game that has done really well, just running against the slave lords. So
Nice.
we finished the first book, and they're kind of in between, but like some of the players are like really wanting to embrace this sort of a, what did he call it? He said to call it my against the slavers sandbox, because they haven't jumped automatically right away to the next adventure. They're still
Right.
training and gathering information, and I think we've dug into, you know, that's how your money is taken away in AD&D, is training, right? So
Yeah.
that's, so, and I think it goes for that. I don't know if you remember Mongoose Conan. So
No, I
like
never played that one.
in between adventures, and Warhammer Fantasy does this too. If you don't have money like in a stash somewhere, you lose it all. You lose all but a small amount, right? So that's
Gotcha.
like what Mongoose Traveler would have, like, kind of that scene after they take the Tower of the Elephant in the movie, and they have no money afterwards, and they need
Right.
money, so that's why they go on the next adventure, right? So that's, I think
Yeah.
that AD&D is trying to, because why else, if you could just hoard money, you would just sit back and open a tavern, like,
I mean, I
like
always think about it as, you went and stole a horde. So if you have a horde, guess what?
someone else is going to steal it.
Someone's coming,
Yeah,
right?
if
Someone's
you
going to
have the
find out.
hoard. Yeah, unless
And
you
if you look
spend
at
it.
it in history, they would take those hordes and they would bury them,
Yeah,
because you find all kinds of buried hordes now where people died and or forgot about them or whatever.
yeah. There's really no central banking, right? So
Right.
that's pretty interesting. And then well, our Twilight 2000 is kind of on a hiatus, but I'd like to jump back
Mm,
to it. Maybe jump back to the sort of survival mode before I go back to, killed kingdom building in southern Poland. So that's kind of how it's ended. Is like, they
nice.
made an alliance between two of the big political groups there.
Mm,
And then so I probably want to do like Going Home, or I've always wanted to do Red Star Lone Star, which is takes place, it's a classic adventure, takes place in
yeah.
South
South
Texas.
Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks really fun. And then I have like three. I figured I'm playing in one, and I have two Twilight, sorry, two Traveler games right now. So
Nice.
my ongoing Hyperborea game is over a year. It started at North Texas as sort of a, like the premise was, you're kind of here. The Amazons have this fort. They want you to do missions for them, because they don't have the manpower. So you know
Right.
it's explored like an island exploration kind of thing. So kind of a smaller exploration. I guess the funny thing is I have this dungeon there. They haven't gone to it yet.
Mm,
So I think
that's
that's,
hilarious.
and then the crazy thing I'm doing is, because you asked, is a Masks of Nyarlathotep, but I'm running it with Cohorts Cthulhu, so in Roman times, using a different rule system. So
Nice.
we just
What's the
started
rule system?
Cohorts Cthulhu, so it's like Auction Cthulhu, Modifius 2D20.
Oh, I don't know that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the Conan one was like that, use the 2D20 system.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Most recent. So yeah, so that one's interesting. We just started Rome. We did the, so in the books it's Peru, but I moved it to Germania, so, and then
Right.
the first chapter is New York, and it's in Rome. So, makes sense.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, so how about you? Well, you mentioned some of the ones you're playing. Is that all, or you got anything else?
That's it. I have, of course, dreams. So
Yeah,
the
what do you
one
want to
ring,
run?
the one ring when I got the first, I think it was the first fifth edition one, because I
Hmm.
think my son Lucas had them.
Yeah,
Um, had huge ideas, like, that if you start running the one ring, all you do is research,
yeah,
shit ton, and then
yeah.
you
You watch
yeah,
Lord of the Rings on YouTube.
right, and then and there's so much to read, and
Hmm.
I wanted to run it further back,
Oh
from the
yeah.
from the movies or whatever.
Hmm.
Had a great sort of sequence set up and everything, but I wasn't really happy with the fifth edition version, and I
Hmm.
just didn't it, I just didn't get the One Ring version.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm dumb or if I'm set in my
I think it's
ways.
just, yeah, it's not. I mean, once you start, it's kind of like Savage Worlds. Like it doesn't make sense as you read it, but once you start playing, like, oh,
Right.
okay. And there's even
That's
a
what
session. There's even a
that's what I
session
mean.
where, yeah, there's even a session in that we show because we're pretty raw on our YouTube, no filters, no, you know. So when my wife Amy gets mad at me, you see it. So, but there was a point where she got kind of frustrated because she didn't quite understand where it was going, and then the next episode we explained this is how things work. So, and then
Right.
now she's like old hat at it. But I think you're right. I think it takes some playing to see how all the moving, because there are a few moving parts and how they work together. But
Yeah, I was on to comment on spouses playing together
oh yeah,
when
I was going to
when
ask you that, but I'm glad you brought that up.
when Brenda first started playing. So she didn't play for years and years, and then once the kids were just barely old enough, I had this set group that I could play with anytime.
Hmm.
Um, so then she started playing and got into it or whatever. And I realized that it's you have a spouse that plays D&D, which is cool because she plays D&D, so I have someone to play with. But also you also fight about D&D now. So and we've had huge fights about druids, such that
uh,
Dennis Astaire actually gave her a card, a laminated card that says you can cast. Dennis Astaire is the guy that invented the druid.
mhm.
Um, you can cast entangle in any dungeon. Like this card enables you to cast entangle in any dungeon. So that was pretty
That's
funny.
funny. That's funny.
But
All
yeah,
right.
you also fight about D&D, so
Yeah, or other games. Yeah,
or whatever. Yeah,
that's fun. That's fun though.
yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Paul, to
Thanks for
to
having me,
talk
man.
about and highlight again which Lords of Skull Mountain Part 1 is out, and you heard Part 2 and 3 coming up to a Kickstarter near you very soon. And then we look forward to seeing more from Mystic Bull and this continuing sort of campaign that's coming out in like segments, which I think is good. It makes it palatable. I mean, really, honestly.
And
So
definitely palatable for development. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Paul, and I'll talk
Thanks,
to you
man.
soon.
Yep.
Thank you so much again, Paul Wolfe of Mystic Bull Games, for coming on the show and sharing your products, your vision, your gaming philosophy. It's great to be able to talk to you and have a conversation. I want to thank my listeners. If you have comments for me or for Paul, you can reach out to me at geomologist@gmail.com. You can send me a DM, either as written or verbally recorded, or you can leave me a short message on the SpeakPipe. The account is linked in the show notes. I've also put links for Mystic Bull Games to check out those products, whether you're an OSE fan, a DCC fan, or a Shadow Dark fan. You can check out Witch Lords of Skull Mountain. Thanks again to all my listeners. My wife Amy usually does the cover clip art, but today is the cover of Witch Lords of Skull Mountain. The cover and the overland map art is by Craig Brasco. So check out Craig's stuff. It's fantastic art. TJ does the intro and outro music. Thank you so much again, and good night and good rolling.